Dude, you already smashed the whole thing.
Smashed. Gone.
Stop.
Jocko Go. Oh, I forgot. I'm not supposed to hit the gram.
Oh,
Jocko Go. Real afterburner orange. Not sponsored.
We got to hit up Jocko and get that work on a partnership.
I'll
They've
text
got the partnership with the P&L.
I'll text him. I mean, me and
And
Kelson.
they take care of us, but we need him to come alongside us and support us. We got a crazy big mission.
Maybe he'll let you on his podcast. Probably not
Maybe.
you. Maybe me.
We could talk about some real stuff. Be fun. We're live. Hey, what's up? It's Coach Jake with the CLAD cast. We're on episode 108, episode 108. I've got my mainest man, Cory Land, homegrown Ironclad boy. He's up at University of Northern Iowa right now. Cory, say hello.
Hi. I'm here. Repping the UNI wrestling.
Repping the purple. I have to shout out to this right now. So in high school, Cory and his older brother, we'll tell the story of all that later. We were having a conversation. I'll never forget this. And they basically agreed on like what we're talking about. What are the best wrestling colors? And they all there was lots of debate, but the one thing that everyone agreed on was that purple and white or purple purple and yellow were the worst wrestling colors ever. And now y'all are both at purple teams, UNI and Montevallo repping the purple all day. So it's kind of awesome.
Well, listen, it's because I think it's because, me and my brother are really big Alabama football fans, and, LSU was probably really good at the time, and, there was clash in there, so we saw LSU purple, and so we were like, nah, purple sucks. And, Springville's right down the road, and we used to wrestle them a ton, and they had purple, so. But yeah, now all I do is wear purple.
Y'all are both at the right places. It's great. Yeah, dude, so what's up, man? How's things been at UNI?
I mean, they're good. We just got our facility got run down. I guess West Gym, RIP. I don't know how old the building was.
Does UNI feel like Ironclad 2.0? Like you're just at the same.
Oh.
You're like this. It's like big time wrestling at a small place, and you have to do everything with elbow grease. Is it like?
It's definitely it's definitely kind of like Ironclad, but that's kind of like what I like. So I've never been at the the big school, the big state that has always been good, is known for being good. I mean, UNI's been good. UNI is good. And I enjoy being there. And I kind of like the little brother feel, I guess. I've been a little brother all my life. Michael's my big brother, so it's cool. I like it. It's a lot of fun. I mean, yeah, we built this place with our hands. We had to go, and I mean, I'm not going to say I built because I was kind of injured still, but and you know how I am. I'm more of the stand on the side and go while everyone else is building. But
you told everybody what to do.
Yeah,
instead
I was
of doing
telling everyone else how to.
That role's important too.
But USA Mat Club. Shout out to them. They let us, basically renovate their room while they have a club there. We tore down their wall. We took all their equipment out. We put all the UNI mats down, and now it's the UNI USA Mat Club. So, I mean, it's pretty cool. We built that by hand, so it obviously holds a close place to our heart, and I mean, it works for us. And it's kind of, I don't know, it's like another chip on your shoulder.
It's fire, dude. It's fire. It's so cool, man. I love your coaches. We've gotten to know some of your teammates and stuff. It's been really cool. Schwab and Roper came down and when they were recruiting you, and I mean, you're getting recruited by everybody really. And, it was cool, man. I mean, I've known Roper a long time and been a fan of Schwab's. Didn't really know him personally or anything, but, those guys are awesome, dude. You have you basically have the greatest coaching lineage ever, since day one. I mean,
yeah, it was Castleberry and Jeff Code and Danny and Gosnell.
Hey, Jeff Coate is the man. I love
Jeff Coate is
Jeff
the
Coate.
Man. I miss Jeff Coate. He's a good guy.
He's one
really,
of the
they're all
ever.
good. I mean, a lot of the people when I tell them my high school career journey and all the coaches I had and everything, they kind of feel bad for me, or they're kind of dang, that really sucks. And I'm just no, I mean, I wouldn't be where I am or who I am today if I didn't have the struggles or whatever. I wouldn't even call it struggles. It is what it is. Life isn't perfect, and I'm glad I got to experience every single one of the coaches, from Gosnell to Jeff Coate to Danny, Castleberry, everybody, it's a lot of fun. I mean, there was obviously ups and downs to everything, but, like I said.
Don't forget Marcus. Wasn't Marcus there
Marcus.
Marcus
was there?
Golly, he's going to be associated.
He is going to be. Sorry, Marcus. Yeah, Marcus too. That was crazy time.
If you don't know, my youngest brother Marcus was 19 or 20 years old,
young.
I guess, and was the high school coach.
Yeah. I mean, and then he some things happen, but But he did a great job. Like he came in with nothing. You know, our team, we didn't even have a full roster. We ended up getting second at sectionals. You know, we had a state champion team. We had a couple placers on the team. Like Marcus literally came. I mean, dude, he did a great job. He doesn't really get enough credit for that, but you know, I'm glad he came in. You know, it was awesome. It was awesome. It was a really good time.
I know he really I loved that year. So let me back it all the way up. So if you guys don't know Cory, if you've been a fan of what we're doing or plugged into Ironclad over the last 5, 7, 8 years, like you have to kind of know the story. But for everybody that doesn't know, Cory started wrestling for me in fifth grade. I don't even know what year that was, like 2015,
13, 14, 15. Because Ironclad was 16. Yeah. So it was probably 2014, 2013.
Yeah, 13, 14. Okay, so his older brother wrestled as well. Started wrestling as a sophomore in high school, and then came out in like the spring of after his sophomore season, and joined the club, and then won 2 state titles after that. So he's got older brother Michael. Cory came around at around the same time, and it was just another kid that started wrestling. It's kind of funny now. Everybody's like, "Oh, how different was he?" Like whatever. Like you were just a kid. Just like he was scrappy and wanted to win, but you were just a kid. But we've literally been around the planet together. We've been all over the place. Cory won 5 high school state titles. We've been to every national tournament in the country. He's made a couple of world teams, including COVID year where like there wasn't a world team that he would have made. And so 2 trips to the World Championships, Greco World Silver Medal, Dave Schultz High School Excellence Award, which is basically, if you don't know the award, it's kind of like a Heisman Trophy for high school wrestling. And so went to Oklahoma City and got introduced there and everything at the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. A lot of people don't even know that happened, but it did. And so it's awesome now. Now he's at scholarship athlete at University of Northern Iowa with some incredible men, incredible team. But he's like another son to me. Like I've got all these guys that have been with us all the way up, and there's for a long time, like when you were freshman, sophomore, junior, all the way up, I bet I had 100 coaches be like, "Hey man, I've been watching your son. He's really good." Yeah. And I'm like, "He's not my son."
Or gone out to eat or something.
Dude, everywhere. Like, so we've been accused of having father-son relationship for a long time, but just another guy that I love, man. One of the guys who grew up in the team, and he's been with us since day one, and so it's been really cool. And I would say like the latest version of all that we're trying to do and be here at Ironclad. So just finished up in Vegas. It was in Vegas last year. Made the Greco finals for the U20 team, and tour. Well, you talk about it. I was there for the whole thing.
Yeah,
you talk about it.
Went to Vegas, feeling really good. I was excited to wrestle Greco and freestyle because, only wrestled one freestyle tournament in the past 4 years, and that was Fargo because I always made the team and then ended up not wrestling freestyle due to other reasons. But
which is a really like crazy thing. Like you've made so let's back that up. So you made when you were a first year cadet at the world team, went to Akron, and you were runner up in freestyle. So you wrestled Greco and made the world team first, and then most people, if you wrestle one style, you don't wrestle the other. But you wrestled freestyle after that. So this was like it was your first year in a 3-year age group. Yeah. So he made the Greco team, then wrestled freestyle, made it to the finals, lost to Steve O'Pullen in the finals, right? And then the next year made the team again in Greco, and we elected not to wrestle freestyle after that. Fast forward, then there was COVID. Oh wait, hold on. So I guess there was COVID the next year. So the next year was COVID, and then the third year you won the Greco team, but like 4 days before we left, you broke a rib.
Yeah.
So you almost didn't go to trials because he had a broken rib. Like legit broken ribs, like pretty sad day. I remember that day very vividly.
I remember it too because I was like, man, I'm not wrestling. I'm about to eat. I was cutting weight. I was about to eat. In my mind, I was like, I'm not wrestling. But for something told me, I was like, I probably shouldn't stop here and eat, And then I went to the doctor, got my X-ray, and then, it wasn't, when we say broken, it wasn't like snapped in half, but there was a
fracture all the way through.
Yeah, there was like a long line. They were like, yeah, that's a fracture. And so in my head, I was like, I'm not wrestling. But it was somehow convinced not to. Healed up, didn't do any gut wrenches for 4 days, for sure.
So made the world team in Greco, and then we didn't wrestle freestyle because again broken rib. It's like, hey, can't mess this up, make it worse. And we even like discussed it at some point, and we're like, no, that's not a thing. So made the team, runner up in freestyle. Next year, COVID, no trials. Although I think you would have killed everybody. The next year, broken rib, won the Greco tournament anyways. Didn't wrestle freestyle, and along that journey, the thing every year was don't wrestle in Fargo. So the first year when you made the team, they asked everybody not to wrestle in Fargo. So you didn't. Some people do now, but you didn't. COVID, no Fargo. Next year, broken rib, and didn't wrestle in Fargo that year as well because the Worlds were like right after that. So that was the year that I think you went to Fargo with us. Did we go to Fargo?
I think we went in 2019. We went together.
Okay,
but I didn't wrestle. I was just there.
And so then, whatever. You've had one trip to Fargo, and you won freestyle and were runner up in Greco. That's the punchline.
Yeah.
But because of all that, and so then Vegas. And I guess I'm trying to give everybody context. Then Vegas this year, he's been in college, redshirt year, all the things, comes out, and you were like so geeked to wrestle freestyle.
Oh, I was so happy.
You're so pumped.
And then, in the finals match, I'm wrestling a kid who's, he wrestles a lot of Greco, and, he goes for a throw. I plant my leg, right over my leg, tear my ACL, said some very naughty words, laying out there, and, they took me back up to the trainer room or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I'm done. Like I knew as soon as I heard it snap, I was like, every bad thought ever came in my head. I was like, dude, my career's over, blah, 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 blah. And then, trainers are giving me hope. They're like, oh, you only tore your like PLC or PMCL, whatever it is. Like these little ligament. He's like, your kneecap just came out of place and back in place. You're going to have, 6 weeks off. PT, and then you'll be back and you'll be fine. You'll be able to wrestle. You'll be able to make it for world team trials. And so, I'm all happy. We go back to the hotel. Everyone wants to go to the strip. So I'm like, all right, we're going to the strip. We go to the strip. We walk the strip for like 2 hours. My knee's, twice the size of my other knee. I'm like behind everyone limping. We get to stairs. I'm like slowly coming over the stairs. All these people who are visiting Vegas are behind me. I mean, it was fine. It was fun, a fun trip. And then got back. Took my x-rays, my MRIs, and got them back like a week later, and they were like, yeah, your ACL's torn. So have fun with that.
It was, correct me here, was it ACL, PCL, and meniscus? Is that right?
No, it wasn't my meniscus. There was the sheet they gave me, there was like 5 different things that were like either like partially torn or strained. Like there was a bunch of different things, but they said the main thing was like, the thing I had to have surgery on was my ACL. Yep. My ACL was completely ruptured, so I had to do ACL surgery, and then they were like, the rest of the stuff is just going to heal on itself over a time through PT. So that's how I spent my summer in a brace and not being able to swim or do anything fun. So couldn't really sweat or work out for like a month, so that was pretty tough. But I'm getting better.
And so you've been cleared for certain activity, but still like can't wrestle.
Yeah, not supposed to wrestle yet. January 17th, I go in and I have my second strength test. So I took my first one and aced everything with flying colors, like all my athletic jumping stuff and landing and stretches. The only thing that was off, which isn't supposed to be like good, is the amount of muscle mass in your right leg for each leg, like the amount of power you have in those legs. Like even if you look at me now, like you can see the difference in my legs.
Yeah, there's going to be atrophy
and that's just how it just takes time. So I go back January 17th, and they were like, yeah, I mean, the way you've been going, you should be able to pass it with flying colors. And then after that day, I should be clear to begin somewhat practicing.
Yeah. So in the interim, so if you guys don't know, he has 2 coaches. Well, there's like 7 guys on staff, but his head coach is Doug Schwab. Olympian, Iowa boy, like he is a tough son of a gun. Like he's just crazy. And I love Schwab. I don't care if you're in an airplane and you don't have a parachute and it's crashing and he's like, hey, we're going to jump and we'll figure it out on the way down. If he told you that, you would just jump. Like when he looks at you, he like looks through you, it's piercing, and whatever he says, you're just on board with. Like he's such an incredible leader. It really is awesome. And so you have him, and he's the most like, be mentally tough, like just do hard-ish guy ever. And then Roper, assistant, is like the opposite, which he's down for hard things and mental toughness. Like he's super into all that, but he's definitely a scientist. Like Schwab is Paul Bunyan, and Roper is the scientist. And so, and obviously, like it's like not they're deficient in the other categories at all, right? But that's sort of their identity. I mean, would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. Like Doug's kind of, if you think about Iowa style wrestling, you think like that's how Doug is. And
he was the poster boy. A lot of people
Yeah.
thought he was going to be the next head coach at Iowa.
Yeah.
And he basically and I don't want to like put words in his mouth, but he basically said, I left because I believed there was a better way.
Yeah.
Like he believes that there's a way to do that through positivity and not negativity or
And he talks about that with us too.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's super like boom, boom, boom. He's kind of like David Goggins, where it's like
he is very Goggins.
I mean,
if you don't know him, Goggins is the greatest way to explain it. You're just
we've
like,
done workouts
okay.
together where he's on the ski machine and we're doing a ski machine workout, and he's an animal. He beat like he wants to compete with it. So he will do like first to 40 seconds, however far you can get. Boom, boom, boom. He beats me once. Boom, boom, boom. Beats me twice. Beats me 3 times. I get him on the 4th one. And the 4th one's supposed to be the last one.
Yeah.
He'll look at me and go, listen here, mother. We're going.
We're
going again. And he'll go again. If you beat him, we're going to go again. Like, I mean, it's all, he's so smart. Like you said, like they're not deficient in each other. Doug is super technical. Like when he gets down and breaks down stuff for you, he's and he's so good at like playing with your mental. Like his coaching, the way he coaches and the way he plays with your mental, talking about, oh, we only have 1 minute left, and you sit there and for 7 more minutes doing it. Like he's super good with like the mental, like messing with your mental and like making you how he is, like super mentally tough. And then Roper, same way. He's so like methodical. He's kind of like the evil scientist, is like how I like to think of it. He sits back. He doesn't say much. I mean, he will talk and he will yell if he needs to get into it. But he likes to sit back and talk and like let you play through the positions and stuff. And then if he needs to say something, he'll say something. Or if you ask him a question in a position, he'll be like, I don't know, play with it. And he'll make you figure it out. And then you can, like, he'll help you out if you need it. But same thing. He likes to do hard shit too. Like, he's definitely not like some old man.
Oh,
like,
no, not at all.
I've seen him, hand fight with Parker Kakaisen, who I don't know if anybody watching knows who that is, but if you go watch him hand fight, he just has scars all over his forehead because he's in there with his head every time. And I've seen them too, before the All-Star thing, not this year, but last year,
Yeah.
Parker didn't have a warm-up partner. So who warmed up with him? It was, Roper. And Roper gave him a black eye, like during their warm-up. Like he is good.
He's tough as all get
yeah,
out.
and then we have the other two.
So
like,
Roper has become a big mentor of mine. He's a Georgia guy. Initially wrestled at App State back in the day. Was started compound wrestling with Cliff.
he was a pole vaulter too at App State.
Really, I didn't know that. What?
We didn't know that either. We were eating at his house one day, and his wife gave us this paper or this magazine of the App State stuff, and he's sitting there with his pole. I think it was pole vaulting. It was definitely some track, but I'm almost 100% sure it was pole vaulting.
What? That's crazy. I
It's
didn't know
funny.
that at
You
all,
should ask
dude.
him about it.
Oh my gosh, I have to. He's become a big mentor of mine, and he's also a ninja in like the value of the like what you do, like giving them. It's like don't give them the answer, like make them find it. He's really awesome for that. So, your training in the last, I mean, growing up, everything we've done here, the goal has been super technical, right? I often like brag and kind of recite on like how skilled you are coming out of high school, and so since you've been injured, your workouts have been a little different. And so one of the infamous workouts that kind of, or I should say like formats that y'all have been doing like almost every day, which I thought was really unique, is that seated hand fighting.
Seated hand fights. So basically, a seated hand fight is one guy sits in a chair, and then another guy sits in a chair in front of you. You shake hands, and then you start hand fighting. And then you're like, how do you score points? Well, the way that me and Doug do it is if you secure an underhook, that's 1 point. But you have to secure an underhook. It's not like you kind of throw one in and then he clears it really fast. You have to secure it and you have to hold it, and you both have to agree on it. And the second one is front headlocks. And I didn't realize how bad at hand fighting. Like I've always thought I was a good hand fighter. At least in high school, I was like, man, I'm kind of beating these kids up. Getting in college, it's like, okay, hand fighting's definitely different. And then I sat in front of Doug and hand fought with Doug for 6 months, and I was like, damn, I suck at hand fighting. And it's like the little things. It's just like my elbow's out. Like, why is my elbow out? And then if you put your elbow out with Doug, he's gonna underhook you a million times. And then you're like, fine, I'll keep my elbows all the way in. And then he pulls you front headlock, and you're just like sitting there, and you're just so frustrated. And then you kind of just learn how to do it. it's definitely helped me with my hand fighting. I feel like I'm a completely different wrestler now.
A lot of failure, a lot of failure, a lot of failure.
A lot of getting pulled front headlock, a lot of, getting mad at myself because I'm just like, what is happening? And then it's like, okay, let me relax. We worked a ton on getting our focus back. So I feel like one of my worst things is if a lot of stuff's going wrong, I kind of come out of focus and I start flailing like whatever, or I hold on. And that just makes it worse. So every time I flail, he would just get underhooked. If I would hold on, he would just snap me straight down. And so me and him talked a lot about, like the camera. The camera's out of focus. How do I get the camera back in focus and get back to like my position? Like whatever I need to do to get back. Okay, catch my breath, back in my position, back to my. He calls it loops. Is like the things he does to get to his stuff.
Yeah.
And like even when we're going really fast or whatever, he's still trying to get to his loop. Whether it's like they call this a Kudakov. I don't know. Like they like
snap and roll.
Hand head pit. They call that like Kudakov. So like he hits me with that a lot. Like he's really good at like, and that's his loop. He's always trying to come there. Boom, boom, boom. I start defending that a bunch. Well, now he's gonna come back up and throw underhook or something like that. And so I feel like it's definitely helped not only with like just my hand fighting part, but like the mentality part of everything's not going right now. Come back to my like my position. Like
so the thing that I've often said is that it's weird now. I mean, you know this because you grew up here, but like there was a time when like we didn't know anything about Greco, right? And so I got obsessed with Greco wrestling, and I'll say we got obsessed with Greco wrestling because I believe that Greco and hand fighting, right? That's what it is hand fighting is like what boxing is to MMA, right? Like there's so much to be learned about it. And so I like to talk about the case study of like when Conor McGregor fought Mayweather. It was Mayweather's way after his prime, right? McGregor, who had the best hands in MMA at the time, right? People now can say and forget or whatever else, but at the time, like he was the ace, and there was no scandal. There's nothing. It was like this dude is the dude, and so when you watch them box, even though McGregor is bigger and Mayweather is older and past his prime, Mayweather just pieces him up with his movement and all the tiny little details. And so when you spend that much time and you can't focus on anything else, you can only box, right? You can only hand fight. It's literally, I like to call it boxing. When you can only box, there are so many hidden little gems and details that you discover inside there. And so I've believed that for forever and experienced it too, right? But it's been really fun because while you're home for Christmas, now you can like move in your stance and all this stuff. We've gotten to wrestle and spar and hand fight some or whatever. And like, it's so like, I can feel the change in your hand fighting skills. Like it's really obvious, right? And it's even worse because you're smaller. And so you fit in, I think there's not space and you can still fit inside the space or whatever. Like when you grapple a little guy in jiu-jitsu, like they can always get into this little inside space. And so it's a thing, that's a constraint that makes you better, but like your skills have gotten so much better. And it's just an unbelievable, it's a case study that like I'll remember forever of how much there is to learn. Right. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things we talk about, I want to hear your perspective on this, but like one of the things that I think is a huge fallacy in wrestling is that people don't understand how deep the technique goes. Right. And so, like you said, you thought you were a great hand fighter and now you've been like, oh my gosh, This goes on forever. And so talk to me about like your experience now. You've gone from high school and among the most prestigious high school wrestlers, really ever, you could argue, to now you're wrestling Division I level and you're in this room with all these guys. What have you learned about whatever, like you thought that technique and skills was like your ace, it was your best thing. What have you learned about like how far and how deep those technique or the ideas and those things go?
It's definitely different. You think like a position, like even something as simple as like a single leg. When you learn a single leg, everyone learns to sweep single leg the same. You sweep, hand on the knee, shelf. Now, I mean, even just recently, me and Doug have been talking about not even reaching our hand on the knee and just keeping our elbow back and on the ankle and then grabbing there. Because it's like every time you touch the knee, someone gets a whizzer and then you're stuck there. Your shoulder gets out, you're stuck there. So like we've been talking about, as soon as you hit there, you pull your arm back, push that ankle, and then go ankle, right? or split hand. Like you keep this elbow, and the same thing in hand fighting, elbow back, right? I feel like a lot of wrestling, like I didn't really think this way until now. Like bottom, neutral, whatever. Hand fighting, a lot of the wrestling that happens, as long as you're inside elbows, like you're probably pretty good. So yeah, like little even things like that. So I mean, some of the things have kind of been just like you get tougher, like like a double leg or whatever, like or you're fighting a high cross, like something like some of it's like okay, this guy's bigger, stronger, tougher than me.
You got to thug it out in there.
You got to thug it out. Tough. You can't just think that this guy's gonna fall down. Like you have to keep going. Like you can't just be like, all right, I might get it, might not. Like you just have to thug it out.
Yeah.
But other things are like there's so many positions where I'm like, man, I didn't even think to do that. Like, and that's such a simple thing. All I got to do is reach here instead of here. Like I don't know. It's super like. I feel like when you're first learning wrestling, you learn moves. In high school, you kind of learn how to put the moves together, and like you learn how to put one or two together. And then in college, you learn little positions, like little tiny things that you wouldn't think would be a big deal. But as soon as you start doing them, and you come back and wrestle a high school kid, and you do them, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm years better than this kid. Like, I'm so like I've jumped so many levels, and you don't really see it when you're wrestling the same guys every day. Like,
yeah, because y'all are getting better together.
Yeah, we're getting better together, and we know how each other wrestle, and it's like this little increments, like we're each, leveling up. And then you go wrestle in a tournament, and you wrestle guys who, may not be as good as you, whatever. Let's say you go wrestle in a smaller open against, I'm not saying that D2, all that is worse.
You wrestle somebody that's not as good.
Yeah,
right?
you go wrestle a tournament, and you do the little things that you've been learning, and you're like, holy shit. Like, I just murdered this kid who was really good in high school, and probably would have murdered me a year ago, and I smashed him like it was nothing because I kept my elbow in instead of reaching up with two hands. I dropped a hand, and it's like now he can't touch my leg because I can just. It's such like I don't know. Being in a chair and hand fighting for 6 months definitely makes me realize like, well, if I just stopped holding on here, or if I just stopped reaching with two hands, I wouldn't have gotten taken down in this match. Like I lost this match because my elbow was out. Like a perfect example is I recently watched my Super 32 final against PJ Duke. It was really good, but I think I could have won that match as long as I kept this elbow down because he beat me. He underhook threw me by 4 times. He hit me with the same takedown 4 times in a row. And in the match, I was like, "There's no way I can stop this." And now I watched it back, and I was like, "Well, what did I expect? I was literally doing this the whole time. My elbow was completely out. Like if I would have just kept my elbow in, I'd have been fine." And I mean, it's just little things like that.
So we've been talking about in this coaches, our pro coaches program, we've been like teaching about all like what we call green spaces, right? That everywhere there's like your neck, your armpit, your hip, tail space, like there's those spaces. And so it's like you want that space closed. In jiu-jitsu, they always talk about inside space. Everyone, inside space. But like no one really describes it. Like if you ask them like inside space, they're just like, yeah, inside space. But they can't point to it. They can't articulate what it is, right? And it was driving me bananas. So we kind of created this model where we talk about it. And so when we take like green spaces, which you understand all this, I'm preaching to the choir, but when you take that idea and you take like those chess principles that we've used and you put them together, it really is bananas. Like, and so like I'm not in the room with Schwab and Rope every day, right? Like I'm not in there with whatever y'all are studying, but we take those like that's an idea. Like that reaching is bad. You know that it's bad, right? And so as soon as you go, okay, well, don't reach anywhere. Like, why do you think that you need to hold on to the leg? You don't need to hold on to the leg. Like, why do you think you need to grab the knee? Well, somebody taught me to hold on to the knee. You just keep your elbow tight and you have the ankle. You can staple the ankle and wrestle, right? Like that's something that is true. We just don't apply that truth to this position. And so it's absolutely bananas when you start to understand things that are true, like don't be extended, don't reach, right? Close off inside space. Like when you take away all your preconceived notions of whatever you got taught by somebody else who got taught by somebody else who got taught, you know what I'm saying? Like it just gets passed on orally for forever. When you take that away, all of a sudden, like you said, there's these gaping holes in your game. Mm-hmm. You're like, bro, why do I do this? Like this is so bad. And it's amazing the things that get passed on like that, right? My buddy Jeremy, this is a pretty cool thing. You'll get this because you're from the South. So when he was growing up, his mom always cut off the ends of I think it was Jeremy's mom. He's a mentor of mine. They cut off the ends of the the turkey or whatever on both ends, and they cooked it, and did it his whole life growing up. And so at one point he got married or whatever else, and they cut the ends of the turkey off, and it was like this huge thing. Like, why'd you cut the ends off? Like, that's the best part or whatever. And so he called his mom and said, hey, Mom, like, we just had this huge deal. Like, I cut off the ends of the turkey, and they all said that's the best part. They're like, why did you cut the ends of the turkey off? Like, he thought that was obviously a really important part of the cooking process. And she said, oh, well, I always did it because I didn't have a big enough pan. It wouldn't fit in the oven. Like, and so she was cutting the ends off to put it in the pan, and it all fit.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And he thought it was like
a
really important in the cooking process, right? And so it was just this like, whoa. And I think there's like, that's not just true about wrestling, it's true about everything, right? Like, why do you do the things that your parents did? Well, they did it because their parents. Anyway, it really, there's no end to it. But that's super dope to hear you say those same things. So we've been talking about that, and you and I haven't really talked about this before the podcast right now.
This is kind of a little off topic, but you were talking about jiu-jitsu. That's one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me is doing jiu-jitsu. Even like when it's first starting, it has made my wrestling game so much better. And even like I kind of showed the guys on our team, like we would have literal jiu-jitsu practices, and I'm a blue belt. I guess they're all blue belts. If you're college wrestler, you're a blue belt. But like I know a little bit more than them, and I was running these like jiu-jitsu practices. We used to do it every Wednesday. We would come in because that's our like off day, and we would do 30 minutes. I would teach them how to pass, how to rear naked choke, like little things, and then we would do some live rolls, and dude, they loved it, right? It's a lot of fun.
It's like recess.
Oh, it's awesome.
And it's easy on the body.
Yeah, and that's how they've learned to block the spaces. Like I'm teaching, even guys who are like really, really good, like Happel and Parker. I'm like, yeah, if you just put your knees here and you put your elbow here, they can't get off their back. And they do it, and they're like, what? They're like, what? What do you mean? I'm like, yeah, dude. And, recently we went to Nashville and wrestled, and one of the guys, our 74-pounder, Jared Sima, he had like a crab in half, and the guy started rolling around, and he like kept tight and ended up on top, and he literally came off the mat and goes, that's that jiu-jitsu we did. And I said, yes, sir, it was.
It is dope. It's so much fun. Like, and there's like, the point is you start studying jiu-jitsu and practicing so that you can find the gold nuggets, and then you bring them back to wrestling, right? Like the way that if you're learning jiu-jitsu for the sake of jiu-jitsu, it's very different. There's things that you learn and get away with and whatever, right? But if you're using it if you're learning jiu-jitsu through the lens of improving your wrestling, there's some like really key things like, hey, you need to learn this, and this. And when you apply it, it's crazy. Yeah. It's literally crazy.
Just learning like butterfly sweep. Like it's so like when the guys on the high crotch, there's very little guys on our team, like even the bigger guys, that when they're on a high crotch and I get in with a little boom, like I
crack down and cut back.
Yeah, they crack down, cut and they're like, what just happened? And even the guys that whoop my ass, I do that too. And like they're like,
when someone, dude, this is a perfect example. People don't know. They don't know,
and you do it, and it's just like they're like, what just happened? You're like, dude, I do that all the time in jits. Like
when you get on a crackdown, if you have my leg and I'm sitting on my butt in a crackdown, like I don't believe you can score. I don't believe if someone scores, I'm like, okay, I just need to try a little harder because I'm playing at the like you're playing at like the lowest pace or intensity possible to still win. That's like the whole idea because that's how you're really testing your technique.
Yeah.
And so if you beat me in that position, anyone, I don't care who it is. Like I joke about this. This is. Like, this sounds so horrible or arrogant or whatever, but I'm like, I really want to like play a crackdown with David. Like, I want to see what David Taylor does in this position and talk about it because, he's like closer to my size, right? And I want to play with it, right? And if there's something that needs to be improved or broken or whatever, like, then learn. But those things are true, right? Like, I played the position with Frank Molinaro. I was like, hey, dude, you're a high C guy. Let's talk about this. And he's obviously smaller than me, but he was kind of like, whoa, dude, that's crazy. He was like, I don't know. I never really thought about that. There's so many pieces involved. Oh, dude, it's so nuts. It's so cool to hear you say that because, yeah, dude, I just don't think a crackdown is not a winnable position if you're the guy on the leg. Yeah. If the other guy is like understands, right?
Yeah. I think jiu-jitsu's, it's not really like, we've kind of brought it into like our culture because we have the jiu-jitsu classes here, but like, I feel like it'd be so beneficial for everyone to do jiu-jitsu. Like, if you're gonna, in the jujitsu guys to go wrestle, because when I do jujitsu and like I just out wrestle, like I can out wrestle half of them. You know what I mean? Like I got to the point where I don't even like standing up with them because it's not like fun.
I play bottom the whole time in the jiu-jitsu class.
I sit on my back or like I try to pass the guard, whatever. But then like I realize like if I just make it like wrestling, like I'm blocking the hip or whatever, and that's like it's just so crazy, dude. And I just love it, and I love jiu-jitsu.
It's so fun.
I want to do jiu-jitsu so bad again. Like I love wrestling so much, and it's so much fun. But wrestling's hard. It's hard. It's physically hard. It's like mentally demanding. Jiu-jitsu is like it's like recess. Like I can lay on my back, play around. If I get tapped, whatever, we're gonna go again.
Exactly.
And it's so much fun, and I've been like, I got those guys kind of hooked on it for a while there, and then I ended up getting injured, so they haven't been really doing it. But when I get back, I think I have to start the mat club.
It's so fun because like, so I do jiu-jitsu 100% to stay connected to my wrestling, right? Like I'm doing jiu-jitsu to learn about wrestling. I'm not doing jiu-jitsu to be great at jiu-jitsu. Like there's guys, I mean, there's some guys that beat me, right?
Yeah.
Like I roll with Josh Yelverton, right? He's a black belt from, he's 10 planet black belt. He's down in Gulf Shores. Like, we grappled one time and like, I kind of like got the better hand of, like I wrestled him. He just thought I was some dude. So he wasn't ready. I like wrestled him and like kind of beat him. And then we rolled like 15 minutes later and he leg locked me like 40 times, right? So the last time we rolled, probably a year and a half ago or something, I didn't even pass his guard. Like he's a really high level black belt. Like he's, and so yeah, he beats me, right? I've done the PGF and competed with guys. There's totally guys that beat me, but I'm not really trying to be world class in jiu-jitsu. Like I don't know all the details to leg lock someone correctly. Like I lose in the leg pummel often and against leg lockers, right? But I'm doing it. I'm not thinking about really the jiu-jitsu. Like I'm learning it because I'm like, I'm learning how to leg pummel. And the whole time I'm thinking about how I'm going to use this when I wrestle.
To end up on,
And so I think all the, just like there's things that are fundamental ideas in freestyle that benefit your folk style, right? Or folk style that benefits your freestyle, right? Keegan O'Toole cradled the guy in the world finals or whatever because freestyle guys aren't used to getting cradled out of a quad pod, right? There's fundamental things, ideas in all those. And so this is this whole idea, but being you're supposed to be an expert generalist, right? So you become an expert in something and a generalist in a whole bunch of others. And that idea, there's a deep idea about it if you look it up and research whatever, but the idea is that you go find those fundamental things in the other grappling sports. And when you bring them back, it's important. Like judo can teach you so much about balance and footwork and using your lower body to wrestle. Like judo is great for those things. Jiu-jitsu, each part of that, striking, kickboxing, has things to teach you. But you have to learn, you have to go study those. Like we're talking about jiu-jitsu this whole time. You go learn those, but you learn it through the lens of bringing it back to the thing that I'm an expert in. That's how innovation happens, right? It's like this whole deep idea. But it's so much fun. And it's great because you're developing feel, you're developing like body movements and some nuanced positions, but it doesn't take away from you like and beat you up, right? You can't wrestlers go in and want to like wrestle and they want to be 90% output and it takes so long to recover, right? Yeah. And so you can go and do jiu-jitsu and like you could do jiu-jitsu and not be sore at all. Yeah. You could do it and be a little sore, but you could do it and not be sore at all, and it allows you to play and expand the hours that you're on the mat.
Really weird positions too that you in wrestling you kind of try to stay out of. Well, now if let's say you do get in that position,
you're forcing yourself into that position.
You force yourself in positions that you wouldn't usually get into. It's pretty cool. I like it a lot, and I'm always like gassing it up to my buddies. So I'm trying to get our team on that.
That's so fire. Okay, so I'm going to change gears. So what's it like? So you live in Iowa now, and you are seeing Iowa culture up close, and Iowa obviously being the heartland of wrestling. What do you see that was so different about coming up in Alabama as an Alabama wrestler? What is so different about Alabama? I call it developmental wrestling, right? Like K through 18, kindergarten through 12th grade in Alabama versus a place like Iowa. Because I'll give this one thing is like the people aren't that different, but the wrestling culture is. So what do you see that's so different culturally about Alabama wrestling versus Iowa?
Yeah. So like you said, culture completely different. You know, down here it's you play football, basketball, baseball. If you wrestle, the first thing that pops into anyone's head is WWE. Like, I don't know how many people I've told, like, yeah, I wrestle. And they're like, oh, like, do you jump off the top rope? And I'm like, nope, that's not what it is. But you go up there, and wrestling's one of those 3 sports. You know what I mean? It's actually it's so crazy how, like, big wrestling is there. Like, I'm not used to going to school and having people wearing, like, wrestling shirts, or going to the store and someone's wearing a wrestling shirt. Like, that's just not a thing down here. Like, I come down here, everyone's wearing Auburn, Alabama, whatever, football, basketball, whatever. You go up there, someone's wearing, you know, Iowa, UNI, Iowa State wrestling shirts at Walmart, and there's like, it's like an old woman, and you're like, you're just like, whoa, this is like, it's cool. Really cool. And like, someone asks you what you do, and you're like, wrestling, and they kind of like perk up, and they want to talk to you about wrestling, and like, people know the rules, and it's so different. And that's a big reason why they're so good, is because like, people care, and to be successful and like have wrestling to be a big thing, people have to care about it. If no one cares about it, no money goes into it, no arenas, no, you know, events, whatever. And when everyone cares, everyone wants to watch, everyone enjoys watching, it's like, oh my gosh, like, this is crazy. Like, even the state tournament, I went to, you know, I've been to my fair share of Alabama state tournaments, and we were in the big Von Braun Center. It's pretty big. It's never fully packed. Yeah. You know, we go to the Iowa high school wrestling tournament. I don't even know what the center is, but it's bigger than the Von Braun, and it's almost fully packed. Like, I remember we were sitting in the nosebleeds watching, and I mean, we had like room up there, obviously, but like, I mean, there's so many people there. It's not just your parents, your grandma, your girlfriend, your sister, your brother.
People that are fans of the sport show up.
There's people who go there who don't have someone wrestling, who enjoy wrestling, and they go watch. And it's awesome, dude. Like, I remember our first duel, and like, there's people in the stands. Like, what? Like, I saw, like, seeing just people from your school in the stands. I'm like, I go to class with that person. I've never talked to them in my life, and they're in the stands. Like, this is crazy. Like, we have a student section over there. This is not a football game, and it's cool. And I think that's another, like, that's a big reason, like, kids want to do it, because they grow up and they see, you know, the Iowa Hawkeyes. Yeah, it's cool. It's not like you wrestle. That's kind of weird. Like, you like to grab sweaty guys and roll around the mat with them half naked. Like, no, it's like, oh, you wrestle, you're tough. Like, let me, like, I see, like, so I work at Shields, right? And so I walk around the aisles, you know, wearing my Shields stuff, and I'll have people like see my ear. Like, I don't have big cauliflower, but it's enough. And they'll be like, oh, do you, like, you wrestle? I was like, yeah, I wrestle for UNI. And again, oh, you wrestle in college? Like,
they're like, dude, tell me about that.
They're like, you know, my I don't know, my
uncle, cousin, whoever, whatever.
My nephew wrestled for a year. So like, I started watching, and now I can't like not watch. And it's just so different. And like, I don't know, there's like gear for it. And
so like, that's really the point of this podcast, right? Is we're trying to bring eyes and attention to training and inside wrestling. We want to share a lot of stuff there, but like, really, there's a lot of people that they just don't know what the special sauce is that happens behind closed doors. They don't know what's happening on a wrestling mat. Like, and I think if they did know, they would care. Like you said, there has to be fans and people that care, and they're watching and eyes on it. And like, if they knew what was happening, everybody would be excited about it. I was talking to a guy yesterday, and we're talking about how, you know, like at church, like your faith, it deals. They're talking about things that everybody's dealing with, right? Like, we live in the Bible Belt where we're surrounded. Everybody cares about faith. Everybody's been to church. Everybody, like, it's like this thing, right? But everybody cares about their kids, right? And so, like, 100% of people care about their kids. And if they knew what they were learning and could get on a wrestling mat, they would all care. Yeah. And so for us, getting really good at wrestling is this like byproduct, like, hey, that's awesome that you're really good at wrestling, but you're not going to wrestle your whole life. In fact, we're gonna talk to some more folks later today and about that. Hey, you got good at wrestling, but really, what's even way more important is you became an awesome human. Yeah. Like, the traits it takes to be a successful wrestler are the exact traits it takes to be a successful human, right? So that's really what we're trying to do. Like, so I'm going to back up to that. You're a young person, and I'm going to let you say this so that I'm not the one voicing it all, but like, what did you see? You grew up in Alabama where you're not surrounded by wrestling stuff. What did you see? What did you learn because you wrestled that you saw your peers like they didn't develop the same way you did because of wrestling?
Yeah. I mean, just even from an early age, it's just like being consistent, like going to practice. Like there was a time like everyone's having fun, you know, you're young, you're in high school or you're in middle school, like there's always birthday parties and you know, it's cool to go to those, but like if I have a tournament on Saturday and there's a birthday party on Thursday, I'm not going to that birthday party because I'm going to go to practice because I don't want to lose in the tournament. I mean, a big thing for me, and it's still kind of a big thing for me, is like I hate to lose. Like it doesn't matter if it's a wrestling match or rock, paper, scissors or a video game. Like losing was such like, I don't know, it was such a terrible thing in my mind at the time. And so I was like, well, I'm going to go to practice because I want to be the best. And so I went to practice consistently. And I think just going to practice consistently and like doing, even the times I didn't want to go, like I made sure I still win. I made sure I still try to get something out of it. And I think that was a big, like, that's a big thing. It's like being consistent in everything you do. Like whether it's in real life, like my diet, like being consistent in my diet, not going out to eat every day and eating like, I mean, you know, I have some pretty crazy weight cuts. I'm not the greatest in my diet.
Dude, what are you talking about? I've never been a part of those crazy weight.
I'm not the greatest in my diet all the time, but like I get to a point where I'm like, man, I do not feel good, and I know I've been eating like crap, so let's change this and be consistent for a diet for a couple months. It's just little things like that, and I feel like to be an elite wrestler, you had to do little things like right to be good, and I feel like to be a good human, you have to do every little thing right. And I mean, I'm not saying I'm perfect. I've had my fair share of mistakes, and I'm still making mistakes, and I'm still trying to fix things that I've done in the past and that I'm doing now and that I'm going to do in the future. Like, nobody's perfect. That's not how we're meant to be. But if I can consciously make the decision to try, I feel like, I don't want to say it's good enough, but it's good enough for now. Like, as long as I can make the decision where like, okay, I probably shouldn't do that and I should do this, or they look like they need help, let me go ask them if they need help. Just little things like that, and consistently doing it, making it a habit. I forgot what the thing is. It's like 999,999. You do something that many times in a row, it becomes a habit. Or what 999?
Yeah.
What is it? You know it.
991 consecutive perfect reps makes it muscle memory.
991 reps is muscle memory. You brush your teeth every single day. When you wake up, the first thing just out of habit is you brush your teeth. If I can make that happen with every good deed I do in my life, and I can make that a habit, then I can get as close to perfect as I can possibly be. Obviously, still gonna make mistakes. No one's perfect, but I'm a perfectionist. I want everything to be perfect. I want everyone to view me as the perfect kid, I mean, now I'm not even a kid anymore. You know, I mean, I'm 19, but I'm not, you know, the little 12-year-old snot-nosed brat that I was when I first started. The little asshole that I was running around and causing problems, crying every practice and beating people up. And thanks, Michael John, for saving the cameras before they exploded. But now we're back.
Okay, so we had to pause because we were having some sweet, highly technical conversation about wrestling that everybody wishes that they could hear. Really fun. Is there a cat in here?
Is there a cat?
Oh my gosh. Cory has developed this weird little tick where he just meows all the time to be funny.
Shout out Doof, my cat, or our house cat, Ryder's cat.
Okay, so before we broke, you were talking a lot about just it being cool in Iowa and all the stuff or whatever. And so I want to kind of circle back, and because you've had crazy success, you again, I don't. People that are listening to this don't really understand what the Dave Schultz Award is. It's an insane award. It's a big deal. Okay, if you look at the list of people, you can go Google it, who have won it previously. It's a pretty elite list. Somehow they put your name on there.
I didn't even know.
You're like, hey, I think I won this award. Like, it's pretty cool. I was like, no, that's not. You're not calling it the right thing. That's not right.
I didn't even know what it was until they sent me the
you
mail.
Didn't.
I was like, hey, I got this thing, and they want me. I don't know if I'm going to do it or not. And then you're like, no, you have to do it. And
I was in. Where was I? I was at Nationals or something.
I don't know.
I think I was at Little Kids Nationals. I was in like Utah or Wisconsin or somewhere, and you were like, "Hey, I won this award," and I was like, "No, you didn't. Like, you didn't win that award." So, anyways, you had a crazy successful high school career, made several world teams, all those things, and so being from Alabama and doing that, when I'm having this conversation with parents now, especially with parents, and I'm talking about their sons, and I'm telling them that they need to, I'm like, dude, just come to practice. I'm like, with Cory, they all know your story, and so I often refer to like with Cory XYZ, and they always want to dismiss that like, oh, well, Cory was an anomaly. He was special. He's like, he was just different, and there's all these. They kind of want to believe in this like superpower, and there's like this whole like theory on how and why people do that, but they are doing that effectively, and so. I was there day one. Like I remember you coming in. I remember you being a kid. Like I always tell them, I'm like, listen, he can't throw a baseball. Like he can't do other things. He couldn't play basketball. And I don't mean to like browbeat you or at like you couldn't walk and chew gum because you could, but you were not a specimen athlete in any other sport. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Like I always say, if you played football, wrestling made you athletic, right? And so now you're pretty athletic, but you weren't like a good baseball player. You couldn't play basketball. You were too small to play football. Like you could have played football as a junior or senior in high school and tackled people, right? But before that, you weren't playing football and good at any of those things. Accurate, like not a swimmer, not any of those things. Okay, and so wrestling made you athletic, though, right? It made you tough, and so I guess let me back up. When you made the world team the first time, he made the world team. After you had made the world team and we had wrestled in where's our first? Sofia, Bulgaria. So you'd already made a world team, won matches at Worlds. Okay. The next year, that was 2019. During 2020, COVID happened, and you were basically working out at my house. Mm-hmm. Like the world shut down. You're coming to my house and working out. Do you remember how many pull-ups you could do when we started working out in my basement?
That's probably like 4.
3. He could do 3 pull-ups.
Those ring
He'd already made a world team, and he could do 3 pull-ups. And so, I'm sharing all this again. It's funny now because you're physically put together and do all things, but people don't know that. Like they don't know that part of the story. And so, I'm just going to ask you the question: like, were you superhuman or were you super consistent?
Yeah, I think I was just not superhuman in any way. I think I was super committed, super consistent. I didn't know, some people grow up and they think, I want to be a doctor or I'm going to be like, I don't know what. If I didn't have wrestling, man, I don't know what I'd be doing right now. And that came from just coming to practice every day and then falling in love with the sport eventually. And at first it was just kind of have fun. My brother did it. I was like, I'll do it, whatever. I needed to do something because I wanted to be a sport. I was an outside kid, But no, I definitely wasn't. Like I wasn't doing, extra workouts at home. Like I would go to school, get home from school. I'd sit on my little phone. I'd sit there and watch Minecraft YouTube videos. And then I'd go to practice and then I'd come back home from practice and go right back to my mind. Like I wasn't doing extra workouts at home or anything like that.
But when you started, like everything changed for you. Like,
once I really and at the same time, it's like when I was a kid, it's just to have fun. Even now, it's like I'm relearning how to have fun with it again because you got to the point where it's like, this is my life. Oh my god! And now I'm like, okay, like it's just a sport. There's a sport. I have the rest of my life, and I really have to credit my parents for that too because they weren't super hard. The only time I ever got yelled at because of wrestling from my dad was if I went out there and made it pitched a fit after a match, something like that. And he never grabbed me up and screamed at me in front of people. He would bring me off to the side and he goes, "Hey, you're not going to do that because you're not only are you embarrassing yourself, but you're embarrassing me and our last name, that kind of deal." And now it's like, okay, I can't be acting like that because there's a legacy.
Your dad, and both your parents, were great that they never got in the way.
Nope.
They were incredibly trusting. Honestly, they were just incredibly trusting.
Yeah.
And I think we were good stewards of that trust, right? But they were incredibly trusting, and they trusted for you to do the right thing and for us to do the right thing with you, and it was incredible how your parents never getting in the way or interrupting allowed such success. That's the genius, honestly, brilliance. All credit goes to your parents that they didn't get in the way.
Yeah.
Right. They let you travel and go and do all those things. and they just worked hard and trusted that we were going to do, it was all going to work out, and it did.
Yep.
And yeah, it's just really, it really is incredible that they were so good. The only times I've ever seen your dad upset about something was if you like belittled a kid or embarrassed a kid that wasn't like worthy of that, right? That wasn't competitive. And I think that maybe happened once ever.
Yeah.
And then like if you lost or a score didn't go right or a call and you got upset, and behavior was really it, right? It's like effort and attitude, and otherwise everything else was just like, there was no dad telling you what you should do or fixing technique. None of those things. It was just, honestly, that's something I wish that I could just capture and everybody else can see, because every parent has a kid that like doesn't want to go to practice sometimes, right? I mean, did you have days like that you didn't want to go to practice?
Oh, dude. I mean, there was probably, once a week I was like, do we really have to go? And then I get there and I have blast. And that's kind of how it went. I mean, there was a couple of days where it was like I got there and still didn't really want to be there, but like I'd have fun. But like a lot of times it was, I don't want to go to practice, whatever, we go to practice. He's like, well, I'm paying for it, so you're going to go. And so we'll go to practice, and then I had a blast at practice. Like the first 5 minutes, I'm like, whoa, and then, I get to see all my friends. And then we start, joking around, messing with each other, and it was a blast again. And then making that environment so fun for myself made me enjoy wrestling, and now I love wrestling, and it's great. And I think my dad and my mom, both my parents and my, my step family too, they all did a really good job of not, if I feel like if I had different parents, like I've just seen, and I'm not like trying to throw shade at anybody. Like, I mean, everyone.
Yeah, you've been here for forever. You've seen other parents do it differently.
And it all comes from love, because everyone just wants their kid to be the best at something, and everyone wants their kid to succeed. And my parents want me to succeed too, but my dad's more about, he spent his whole life working hard and doing things for his children and making sure like him and my mom have sacrificed so much for me and my brother, and they still are sacrificing so much for us. And so I kind of felt like I didn't feel like I had to, but like I wanted to make them proud. Like I wanted to go and, if he asked me every time, are you still having fun with this? Every season before he bought the new membership or whatever, he was like, well, are you having fun? Because if you're not having fun, we're not going to do it. But if you're having fun, we can keep doing it. I was like, yeah, I'm having fun. Let's keep doing it. And then it got to the point where I want to be really good because, my dad, like, he enjoys watching me. He enjoys being there. And I feel like if I had different parents where they were yelling at me during practice or, got mad at me for losing in a match or something like that, I probably would have quit. I probably wouldn't be here today, especially back then, probably still now. Like, if my dad texted me now after I lost a match and said, like, what the hell are you doing? I'd probably cry and move back here and, I don't know what I'd probably be doing, some type of laying stone or something. But they don't care. Like, I mean, even when I went, to a different state and wrestled, and if I would lose, my dad he knew not to text me right then, and my mom, they knew not to text me right then. Text me later, hey, you okay? Like, yeah, I'm good. Like, they're like, hey, we still love you. I'm proud of you. You did a really good job. Can't wait to see you when you get back home. They never were like, you should have done this. If you would have done that, like.
And that's like you said, that comes from love. When parents do that, it comes from love. Like, everyone only cares about their kid. I always say, everybody cares about what's best for their kid. Mm-hmm. And then secondhand, they may care about us. Mm-hmm. But the primary, what parents and us as coaches are united by is that we both want what's best for their kid. We just we're not looking at it from the same perspective, right? And so when parents do all those things, or they scream during matches, and like all the things that they're doing are for support. Mm-hmm. They're out of love, but it's just so easy to mess up. And your parents were brilliant in that they didn't get in the way in those ways. And because it wasn't that they didn't care or they weren't involved, they allowed you space to do all those things. And I really think that that's what fostered a lot of the success.
And like a lot of the stuff is like, it's character development. It's good character development to have your kid get his ass whooped sometimes. Like, I didn't really, when I first started, I got beat up a couple times. And when I went out of state for the first time, do you remember that? We went to Georgia, and it was a dual tournament. And it was the first tournament I've ever been to where I didn't win a match. I went 0-5, and I thought I was going to quit wrestling because I'd never really gotten beaten up like that. Yeah. And you need to get your ass whooped sometimes. Like, it's going to happen. Good. It's going to happen one day. it's gonna happen. We're talking about real life.
You need to take a hard loss and then have to deal with it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and as you get better, you may not lose often, but when you lose, they feel as they're always bigger than ever, right?
They always hurt.
I mean, when I think of big losses that stood out to me, there's probably three that really mattered, right? Like one was when you lost in the finals of the World Team Trials for freestyle to Steve-O. That was a tough day, right? That you struggled, right?
Yeah.
But you grew from it, right? Another was losing in the world finals when that was like the biggest stage ever. You're going to be a world champ, and you lost on that day, and like that was hard. Like we had to go to the locker room together. I mean, it was hard, right? Those are times that you'll never forget. But like, it makes you better. Like losing on that stage sucks. It's not like it doesn't suck. It definitely does, but it makes you better and a better human, right? Not like it can stimulate you to be a better wrestler, whether you do or don't, or you win more or whatever on the other side of that. You're a better human for having gone through that adversity and persevering, right? And then losing in the Fargo finals after it was like the cherry on top of this pinnacle career. You just won one style in Fargo, and here you're probably going to win again. You wrestled, I think, Cannon Webster, who you had beaten 4 or 5 times or something at the time. Maybe I misquoted, but you'd beaten several times, including the freestyle finals 2 days before, right? All things were like, yeah, this is pretty much a done deal. And so when it didn't work out, that was hard, right? And you didn't like cry or anything else, but it just emotionally, it's like, man, that's not the way I wanted to finish this thing. And when I look at those L's, it was just part of you growing up, right? Like it gets you ready for the next bigger thing. You you just draw the game out. Like today, the game doesn't end today. Like the game is 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Like you just go, there's a bigger thing that I'm actually don't care about this. I care about that, right? The higher peak beyond this one. And I think that's something that you've done. Maybe in the moment you don't see it that way or didn't see it that way, right? You're not supposed to see it at the time, but now I think you have that maturity, and it is a physical, mental, emotional, spiritual maturity that you get that I've seen firsthand. Like I believed in already, but I've witnessed firsthand, and I'm witnessing it in so many others. And I think it's cool for you to share that story because that's what everybody cares about for their kid. Everyone who's listening to this has a kid or knows a kid, and they're somehow in or around or involved with wrestling, or they should be involved with wrestling, and they're going to care about those same things for their kid. Like I was talking about, that we care about our faith and all those things. Everybody cares. That's a not of this world, right? Of this thing in this world, we all care about our kids, and so I think de facto they care about wrestling because it's a vehicle for all those things, right?
No, for sure. Like those losses, I always, to kind of get myself through them and like use it in a positive way, I always think about what is my goal in wrestling? Like, what is my final goal? What do I want to do? What is the biggest accomplishment I want to be? And in my eyes, like the biggest accomplishment you can be as a wrestler is an Olympic champ. And so let's say, I lost in the Fargo finals. At the moment and probably a couple days afterward, I'm like, man, I'm never going to be able to do that. And then I'm like, how many Olympic champs are actually Fargo champs? You know what I mean? Like how many in history Olympic champs won Fargo or lost, didn't even make the finals? And then I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Like it's okay. And then I'm like, you know what? It's just wrestling. Like I could, be living on the side of the road without a house and no family and not know anyone and addicted to drugs. Like there's so many worse things. And that's a big thing I've been trying to go through now. Like with Doug and Roper and even like Parker Kaizen, like we've been trying to do like a lot of, it's just wrestling. Like I love the sport. I've kind of devoted my whole life to it. You know what I mean? And that's my choice. And I would never change it for a second. But at the end of the day, if let's say my leg never recovered, let's say I broke my leg in half, had to chop it off, couldn't wrestle because no way I'm going to be Anthony Robles. Have you seen me? No, like let's say I never wrestle again, like I would be okay. I wouldn't enjoy it. Like it'd be a tough, transition for me for sure. But at the end of the day, there's bigger things than wrestling. I have my faith, I have my family, I have my friends, and they wouldn't just not talk to me, and they wouldn't leave me just because I wasn't a wrestler anymore. So that's been a big part of it, is just, realizing that, I mean, losses happen in wrestling, losses happen in life. Like, that's another big thing. It's like, damn, I lost a match. Well, I could have lost my dad or my mom or my brother. Like, that's a lot. That'd be a lot worse than losing a match. So it's kind of like dealing with losses has been a tough part of my life, just because I want to win so bad, and then having to realize, like, it's just a game.
Wrestling it is a safe space. I hate to use the word safe space, but it is a relatively safe place to experience adversity and loss. That's really not big picture. But when you do experience real loss, you're able to manage it, because it feels just like this loss over here.
It translates. That's another thing.
This loss might be, I remember I lost somebody close to me as an adult. I was probably 25. And it was really it was the biggest loss of my life, right? And I'm like, man, I wouldn't be able to manage this so well if I hadn't had all these other losses. This was the biggest loss of my life when I was 17, you know what I mean? Or 19 or 20 or 20, like all those years on the mat, right?
Yeah, talking about, growing as humans, like, you want to learn how to lose and learn how to have all your hopes crushed, like, wrestle. Because no one's perfect. Everyone loses. There's no human on this earth that has never lost a match, you know what I mean? And in history, it's like, everyone's going to lose. And when they lose, it's going to be the first loss, is going to be the biggest deal ever to them. Or let's say they get really good. They go to the finals. If on the big stage, all the lights are on them, whole crowd, lost. Like, it happens. But then you realize how to get over it, and that's how you end up growing as a human.
I remember I was there when Kyle Snyder lost in the NCAA finals, undefeated. Like, he's going to be the next Kel Sanderson, and he lost. And everyone was like, it was silent for like 3 seconds. A pin drop in the arena. Big day, right? Big day. Kyvan Gadsden gave the famous, like, I want to get some ice cream interview afterwards or whatever. But fast forward, 6 months, and Kyle Snyder beats the number 1 pound-for-pound wrestler in the world, beats the Russian to win a world championship and secure a world title over Russia on American soil. Like, it was a way bigger win. And now he's Kyle Snyder, right? But he just experienced the biggest loss ever. And so I thought that was pretty cool.
Just being able to have how to use those losses, and you can either use it and, pout for 6 months, or be like Kyle Snyder and go back to training after a week or two off and go beat the Russian to win, like, whatever. Like, there's a lot of ways to, like, that's another thing with the Doug and this hand fighting stuff. It's like, I know you're frustrated. That's what I'm trying to do to you. Like, he'll tell me after, like, I know you're frustrated. I'm trying to do that to you. That's why I made you go against me and then another fresh guy and then me again and the fresh guy. Like, I want you to get tired. I want you to get frustrated, and I want to see how you're going to use that frustration. Are you going to just get mad and start throwing haymakers and get out of position, or are you going to calm down, refocus, and stay how you need to stay? And again, that's how it is in real life. Like, bills, payments, whatever. Like, I'm not a homeowner, but I rent a house out now, and it's like, it's not fun paying for you. And I mean, mine's really cheap compared to, like, people I've talked to. But still, like, I'm
real.
Yeah, like, I'm a college student. I don't want to be paying however much a month for this crap. And I'm like, whoo. So it's like, all right, I'm going to do this, and then I can pout about losing that much money, or I can, go to work on Monday.
Okay, last thing. What is your coolest or fondest memory of your time at Ironclad?
Fondest? Oh, man, I don't know. I have a lot of, like, really good memories from when we were secretly practicing during COVID. That was really cool. I don't know. Kind of felt like we were bad boys.
Underground fight club.
The underground. Like, that was pretty cool. And I mean, going from, man, I don't know. I mean, building this place was really cool. And being a part of this and just being a part from day one. All the trips were really fun. I loved going on wrestling trips, not only to wrestle, but, like, I was younger and I got to hang out with all the cool guys, and that was really cool. Probably the best trip I've ever went on was 2019, freshman year in HSCA's. because that was kind of the first big tournament where I kind of made a name for myself. I had, the number 15 ranked kid in the country, second round or something crazy, and ended up beating him, and then ended up beating 4 other really good guys who now are all wrestling. Like, I went to the Cliff Keen Invitational and talked to Danny Wask, who wrestles at Navy now, and he's in the semifinals at like 165, or I don't know what weight class he is, but he's huge now.
He's huge.
And it's like, I'm like talking to him, and he's like towering over me. I'm like, dude, we wrestled at 106, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And that's pretty cool. And then I'm like, look back up these kids I've wrestled. Like, this kid wrestles at Wyoming. He's the starter for Wyoming right now. This kid's the starter at Stanford right now. And it's really cool to just like see that. And it was a really fun trip. Virginia Beach National. It's an awesome trip. That's kind of the first big trip we went to. So it was really fun. And I got it, like, my brother was there. It was a lot of fun. Another big one was Fargo. Because, all I'd ever heard about was stories from Fargo and how tough Fargo is and all that. And I was just so hyped to finally be able to wrestle there. And even like, I don't want to say my weight cut was hard, but I had a weight cut. I was making weight, but I was so hyped, and everyone on Team Alabama was there. And like, even the guys who aren't from Ironclad, like, I wanted to show them that there's a reason, like, I am who I am. So when we're practicing together in front of all these other teams and everyone's sucking down weight and people are like, no, when I'm drilling, I'm going to be the fastest driller in the room. When we do like live goes, I'm going to go 100% and then afterward, I'm going to do extra because I'm going to show y'all why there's a difference. And I want, like, at the end of the day, it's like, hopefully they see me do this and then see me have success and then they do it and then people see them do it. And it's like the chain effect, right? And so like Fargo was a really cool experience for me because I was like, when I go to the dining hall, I'm going to make sure I eat healthier than all these guys. Because these guys, everyone talks about the chocolate milk, which chocolate milk really isn't that bad for you. But like if you drink too much of it, whatever. Or the desserts.
Ice cream.
Yeah, ice cream, desserts. And I'm, like I said, I don't have the greatest diet. But when I was there, I was like, I'm going to eat super clean because I'm going to show them that this is why there's a difference, right? When I'm training, this is why there's a difference. When we're doing the practices together, when we're on the runs together, this is why there's a difference because I'm going to do every practice I'm going to take seriously. Every practice I'm going to do this, whatever. And then going out and just like, kind of murdering everyone. Like,
yeah.
Really, my finals match would have been,
everybody.
My finals match was tough just because Kane Webster, great competitor, and that would have been a good match if I didn't catch the trap arm really early, probably. I still think I probably would have won, but like that would have been a good match. And then the final match at Greco. But other than that,
really iced everybody.
I didn't tech one person in freestyle. And then in Greco, I didn't tech one person. But everyone else, I messed up. Like it wasn't even fair. And a lot of that was because I was trying to show off the Team Alabama kids and show everyone that like I'm the effing man. And this is what I've been training my entire life to do. And Fargo is known as the biggest tournament ever. And, when I was a little kid, I didn't get to go there. Or like when I was a little kid and trained for Fargo camps. We didn't even talk about Fargo camps. That's a whole other story that we have to talk about another one.
We'll do another episode.
We need to do a whole episode on weight cuts and Fargo camps that I've done because that's a whole episode. But anyways, I've always seen this tournament. Everyone talks about how great this tournament. There's still only been one national champ at the time, Sam Latona. Shout out to him, first champ. And no one else had even like gotten close. And so I was like, I'm going to go win this thing and I'm going to win OW. Obviously didn't get that because, some
I don't even know who won, but yeah.
I don't know who won either, but some people don't like me. Some red logo people don't know who I'm talking about, but they don't love me.
Shade.
Yeah,
That's
won't call them out too much, but yeah, like that was an awesome trip. And it didn't end how I wanted it to, but like you said, if I didn't have that loss, I wouldn't be here who I am and have the ideals I do today.
Okay, wrapping up, is there anything else that you want to say to the Ironclad family before we shut it down?
I just want to say thank you to everyone that has kept up with my story. For people who don't know me, hopefully I can come in and teach your kids something, or you, if you are a wrestler. And yeah, just, I wouldn't be here without Ironclad, and I'm thankful for Jake and MJ and all my people out there who have watched me throughout the years. I'm probably, hopefully I'm a little bit different than I was then because I was probably a shithead during practice or to your kid, and I apologize for anything I've ever done to them. But yeah, I mean, just thanks for everything. I hope, you know, you got a little something out of this, and some, you know, kind of learn more about me as a person rather than just some kid that would come in and complain and meow and cry and make weird noises.
Meow.
So yeah, I mean, I just thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for, you know, watching me and supporting me.
Yeah, dude, this was fun. We'll do this. This is not the last one. We'll do this anytime you're home. It's just fun to talk shop and talk wrestling. We'll off camera. We were talking about a lot of technical wrestling stuff that was fun and cool. That would be like we could talk endlessly about all that stuff. Dude, I love you. You are like an adopted son to me. It's really awesome. I'm really proud of you. It's been the most fun to travel the world and wrestle together and all the stuff. And I'm pretty excited because there's a lot more of that stuff ahead. So yeah, you're in good hands. I'm proud of you. Keep doing your thing. All right, man.
Roll Tide.
Later, bro.
Later.
Meow.